Esa-Pekka has been in Los Angeles for almost 20 years. But Helsinki, Milan, Stockholm and London have also been important to his trajectory from a super talented student at the Sibelius Music Academy in Helsinki to a superstar in the music world. Petri Kolmalainen is a young conductor who has just graduated from the academy. It looks like he's following in Esa-Pekka's footsteps. For his final work, he chose the same Bruckner piece that Esa-Pekka did. He plays the same instrument, the French horn, and has won several competitions.
So of course I admire Esa-Pekka's work a lot. I have listened to his recordings a lot and I've been to his concerts, I've played under his baton a few times. But in a way, of course, he belongs to a different generation and he's also a great composer. So in that way, of course, I don't feel myself being up to his level. In a way, I think that there is a lot of talent in Finland nowadays, and I think that the general level of conducting, I think, is rising all the time. But then really to make the leap, to get the gigs, because the thing is that when you graduate from the academy, it's just like getting a driver's license. That you have this driver's license, okay, I can say that I can conduct the orchestra. But after that, after you leave the academy, you have to have the opportunities to work with professional orchestras. And that's something that is really difficult to get those gigs nowadays. Because there's a lot of conductors around, flying tickets are cheaper, and they bring out from abroad much more conductors to Finland. At Esa-Pekka's time, they didn't do that much. In the provincial orchestras, didn't have that much money to bring in foreign conductors. So they would use a lot of the conducting class conductors. Like I've done it, I've been very lucky. But there are a lot of people that can't do it. And they graduate from the academy and they have never conducted a professional orchestra.
Esa-Pekka knew by the time he was 11 that he wanted to make music his life's work. He studied the French horn and conducting, but what he really wanted to be was a composer. Tim Page is a young American who has lived in Helsinki for 6 years. He studied to be a composer at Sibelius Academy.
I think that my education in composition has been very different than what it would have been had I stayed in America, because the composition instruction at the Sibelius Academy is very rigorous. Here, the teacher says, okay, we're going to write a piece now in sonata form. We're going to use 2 instruments and we're going to work on this way of approaching composing. Most places in America and even elsewhere in Europe, the instruction is a lot more free form.
After graduating from the Sibelius Academy, Esa-Pekka went to Milan to study composing. We went there to catch a glimpse of where he lived, what he saw, what he did.
So I had a house in Magenta which had practically no furniture. I had one desk, a piano, horribly out of tune, a bed, a saucepan, and a colander, of course, for pasta. And that was it. And then they gave me a dog because they felt that I would feel less lonely, because they didn't realize that Finns never feel lonely. The lonelier you are, the happier you are, and so on and so forth. And I was also the only child, so loneliness, to be alone was never a problem for me. Nevertheless, they gave me a German Shepherd, and they told me that it might try to attack me, but I have to talk to her, then she won't bite me. But this turned out not to be the case. So I had to develop a new technique. Every time I went home, I had to go via butcher. And I brought some sausages usually. And I would open the gate and I would put the sausage in first. And then the dog would come and eat it. And then I could enter in corpore and be saved from canine violence.
We thought Esa-Pekka, a young Finnish guy living in Italy for the first time, would have been seduced by the Italian way of life. The food, the wine, the art, aperitivos at 6. But when he was in Milan, he stuck to his work.
It was a strange time because I didn't really connect with anybody or anything much in Italy. I basically lived in a very sort of highly structured way. I really had decided to discipline myself. So I got up early in the morning and started working, and I had my supper always in the same place called Bar Rolli, which is sort of Rocco's bar where there was a jukebox and they played Italo pop, which I still love from those days. I love Italian pop music still because it evokes all those days of youth and excitement. And I always had the same kind of sandwich and 2 beers, Carlsberg. And then I went to bed and got up very early the following day. So there were never any modifications to this routine. So I basically went to my lessons. I sometimes went to La Scala, but mostly I stayed in my kitchen writing music and studying, and it was very quiet, socially extremely quiet time for me. But important now when I think about it, it was an absolutely essential time in my life, starting to gradually understand who I am and what I could be.
If you choose one defining moment in Esa-Pekka's career, it has to be the night he got his big break when he was only 25.
I don't know why I was chosen. It was sheer luck, I think. And, I think they were getting desperate. I got a phone call from my then manager, and it was a bad morning because I had been out late with my pals drinking beer. So I had a spectacular hangover, and they called way early, and I told them to disappear, using vocabulary I'm not going to repeat here. But then they called about 3-4 hours later when I was already in the land of the living. And then they said, well, MTT has fallen ill in London. Would you consider conducting Mahler Third? Because at that point also I wasn't planning a conducting career particularly. I thought of myself as a composer who conducts just to make a living and so on and so forth. And I thought, okay, if this goes well, then that would be enjoyable. If it doesn't go well, then at least I can say to my grandchildren that I conducted the Philharmonic Orchestra once in the festival hall. And I decided to do my best and all that, but I didn't feel that this was the mythological moment. There's always this sort of perception problem that all of a sudden I was this famous guy, and all kinds of managers and orchestra managers and agents came to see me, and yet, of course, what we know internally is that I'm no better than I was 3 days ago. I'm the same guy. I haven't changed over 3 days, but the perception of myself has changed completely, and it's kind of bewildering.